And to add to your NAS100 concept, right? So you pulled up NAS100. In fact, I'll let you do it. I'll switch it back over to you. Your NAS100 idea with short-term bearishness. Let me ask you this. So you're bearish on it, and reasonably so. I think that stocks in general, in my opinion, are not like super attractive right now. Maybe long-term, but in the short term, definitely a little bit concerning. What would cause you to would you stop out of something? Would you close out of trades? How would you, like, let's say things go absolutely wrong, which as we know as traders, they do sometimes. How would you approach managing a risk on this sort of trade?
I would stop out for sure. And the reason is because, you know, if we zoom out a little bit or a lot, you know,
sure,
we're just in this environment right now where even though we're super bearish, right? Everybody's super bearish at this point. So we're going to hit that moment in time at some point, whether it's this week, next week, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, where that narrative starts to shift, right? You reach this level where, you know, a lot of the big money starts saying, okay, you know, these prices make sense.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That can ruin a trade, right?
Sure.
Because we're just following the trends here, right? But at the end of the day, if the buyers decide to come in and say now's the time, then there could be that scenario where, you know, it goes not in your favor. So I would prefer to get stopped out at that point.
And how would you, where would you see, like, place it? Like let's say that you're, say you short at current prices. Where would you stop out on a trade like this? Like, what levels would you
I think I would probably look to put my stop loss somewhere around this area here. So if let's see here, put the stop loss somewhere around here. I think if we were to see kind of a break of that, you know, 200-day on the hour, I think at that point you could safely say that the trade was, you know, broken at that point.
Sure.
And then I think from a, you know, risk reward standpoint, I think that there's nothing. I think you could see it move back to this level down here, and then even further, I mean, retest those lows. But again, that all probably depends on, you know, the fundamentals at some level as well.
Sure, that makes sense. And I think that, you know, it's hard to tell exactly, but we recently had the discussion from, or the announcement from the Biden administration about basically just really, really strong sanctions on Russia. And the market actually, that was kind of what propped the market up yesterday, though. I don't know, man. It was weird yesterday. You had this crazy spike back up, and I was watching the as things developed fundamentally news wise, and I was like, I just don't know. I just don't know that this justifies a strong rally. And it's not that I'm a perma bear or anything. I hate looking at my stock account right now, but, you know, I want it to go back up. But I didn't feel like the news matched the reaction personally, and so maybe that adds to your short bias in the short term.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's such a hard game to play because, you know, I think just going back to that point of there's just so much negativity, right? At some point we're going to hit that level where people are like, nope, we're done being negative,
right?
Know, and that does impact trades. And, you know, we do see the pre-market right now looking to open higher.
Yep,
so,
right.
You know, that kind of bearish trade, you know, may not end up working out. It's not like I would, you know, go away from it here necessarily, but you know, it's very possible that.
Sure. And what about the like things like S&P 500? Do you have any opinions on? And I guess, you know, actually, if you zoom out, Garrett, take a look at like the 4-hour chart. This was really interesting. It caught my eye this morning. Let me actually see if I can just for just a second show you what I'm looking at, and then we will. So let's pull my screen up for just a second. So we broke out, right? We made a serious breakout to the downside. Like that failure there was key. And I talked about that yesterday on my stream being such a big deal, right? You had this big barrier for buyers, and we popped off it, right? We spent a couple days thinking about it 1, 2, 3, 4 times where we just sat on that price level, rallied off of it. But then with fresh data, with fresh news, and just some overall bearish sentiment, we were able to break and close underneath that level. Now we're retesting that level. And that's the question of like, okay, you put that into effect and it's like, well, is that time to short that? Or is that, you know, hey, did we find a true bottom? And to the point of the bulls, that is a strong rally off the bottom. We haven't seen that sort of rally in a minute. So, you know, it's a little bit of a cautionary tale, but again, I just don't know that and I could be completely wrong about this, just, you know, as we always can be with these ideas and content that we're looking at. This is just truly our opinions. As we pull back to a level like that, my opinion would be short term, I'm just not a super buyer at these levels because of just the news didn't quite match the reaction, or the reaction, in my opinion. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would need to see more signs that we're kind of breaking over that level for me to feel more comfortable.
Sure.
And I think, like, fundamentally, I'm starting to shift more in the camp of we're just way too oversold. I don't know if you have like an RSI that you can pull up or something.
Sure. Yeah. So you got on the 4 hour. Let's take a look at the daily chart, just macro perspective.
Yep.
So we tagged oversold.
We did.
Twice now, actually. We kind of double bottomed on the RSI itself to some degree. We found that low down in late January, and then tagged it one more time recently. So yeah, it's certainly that is a question. It's like balancing good price for stocks and people wanting to buy the dip kind of thing.
Right.
It's just, I guess, watching to see how things progress further with Russia, Ukraine. That's kind of the headline right now.
And it just depends on your mindset, right? Are you trading the market? If you're trading the market, I mean, I think you have to just focus on technicals and really the tailwinds that are driving your philosophy, right? So,
sure,
you know, if you're trading those trends, and if you're trading, you know, trying to put as many tailwinds in your favor for a particular trade, you have those entry points. I think you have to stick with those, but understand that, you know, it's really, really important to, you know, risk management, right? Like,
sure.
This is the kind of environment where something fundamental could change like this.
Yes.
And that could completely break a trade.
Right. Yeah. No. And you know, there's all different levels to this stuff too. Another thing that's been kind of circling in my head too is, and this is purely just a speculation on the whole Ukraine and Russia situation. My question is, you know, this has been a very similar story. We saw Hong Kong be taken by China without much of a threat. Ukraine taken by Russia, obviously much different reaction. There's big reaction from the West, big amounts of sanctions. But I think that, you know, the story may continue. China has their eyes on Taiwan. They've had their eyes on Taiwan for a while. That's been a conversation. It's all scary stuff, and it's obviously you know, very serious stuff. But it's stuff that can continue to push the market down. So there is, like we mentioned at the beginning of this, right now the pressures just seem very high for the bears. And until some of that comes off, I'm just not super looking at buying everything right now.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. I think, you know, the pressures are there. And I think the other thing that you have to think about in terms of the pressures is like, okay, can I separate, you know, these kind of news stories that are happening? So what I mean by that is, like, if I look at each story individually, so we've got Russia, Ukraine, we've got, you know, potentially China, Taiwan. Let's say the worst case scenario happens where this invasion continues. How much will that actually impact, like, the US economy, right? Will it? I mean, right. I think it will at some level, but will we see like a slowdown in GDP? Probably not. I mean, it's not going to, I mean, in the grand scheme, like, Russia's economy is not super big. I mean, yes, they are a big oil exporter, but, you know, we have some things in our back pocket to protect us against it. It's a different story if you're looking at like a Germany, right?
Yeah,
that
right.
relies on that stuff
yes,
much more heavily than we do. So,
well, and you know, the last thing I'll say before we end it here is one thing to also think about is, remember in 2018 we had a down market, or not a full blown down market, but we saw down movements.
Taper tantrum.
Yeah, that, as well as we also had trade war fears.
Trade war
with China, with Trump and China. So my fear is that, you know, the West is reacting very heavily to Ukraine. Again, this is purely just speculation because it's not something that's happened right now. But, you know, you have to kind of be forward thinking. Exactly. If Taiwan was to come into focus again, would the West revisit that trade war pressure again? So all of that stuff, we've got so many things to talk about here on the show in the future. Garrett, I know we've gone over time here already. Garrett, where can people find you? Because I know we got to continue this conversation to let people hear from you.
Yeah, so YouTube, Garrett Invests is the YouTube channel. Been trying to post a lot more on that. And then Instagram, Garrett Invests as well. post some kind of lighter content stuff there. But yeah, definitely check it out.
Guys, and let us know if you want Garrett to come back. We can pressure him into coming in, hanging out with us more in the future, and continue to talk and cover all this stuff going on. It's very interesting, and we love to have guests come on the show. So it's nice to have you here, man. And guys, we'll see you next time. Go check out Garrett.
Interested in seeing our trades live as they happen? By joining the A1 Trading Discord, you'll get a notification every time one of our traders enters a position. Each trade we share comes with an entry price, a stop loss, and most importantly, a full breakdown of why the trade was taken. Learn alongside our experienced traders, join our active chat room, and ask your questions in our coaching webinars. Between our team of active traders, we trade forex pairs, commodities like gold and oil, crypto, and stocks. By joining the group, you'll be able to keep up with all of it. Sign up today using the link in the description, and don't forget to use our promo code listed below for a special subscriber discount. Thanks for watching, and see you inside.